Welcome, guys, back to Mild Filler, and Devin is yawning in my presence. How dare he?
God damn it, I thought I could get away with it without you saying any snide bullshit. God damn it.
We're doing a small minicast today with me, Hector, and Devin.
Hello.
So we decided we're gonna do a little small minicast based on a comment that we received in our Fire Emblem Black Eagles podcast. And that comment is, you guys should make a podcast about how Nintendo should be a DLC for Crimson Flower for when they fight Twisted after Rhea. Build up more story there. This comment was by Magic Films, and I thought it was a very interesting one to do. What's on your phone, Devin?
Nothing. I just had to turn it down because I realized it.
That's fair. Alright, so, I think we should start off by saying, I think the Crimson Flower route isn't great.
I mean, it's probably my favorite route because I had the most fun with it.
Oh, is that so? Elaborate.
I mainly attribute it to it because of maddening more than anything. The actual best route for a story is Azure Moon by a goddamn landslide. Yes. Don't get it twisted.
Yes, nice point.
Gameplay experience, Crimson Flower by a fucking mile and a half.
I guess so, mainly because it was shorter too. That also kind of helps
for replay. Yeah, that helps.
And, because I think we discussed this earlier, but a lot of Act 2.
A lot of it's so fucking similar.
It feels like a slog after a certain point.
Yeah, I agree. I generally liked part 1 and whatever, and I played it 4 fucking times, and I still liked it.
Yeah.
I'm like, part 1's pretty good.
And I guess that's what makes, Crimson Flower a little more digestible, because it's much shorter.
It's mostly part 1. It's like 6 chapters of part 2.
I mean, that aside, though, I think we're going to be speaking more on, story, or the way they could expand it, because honestly, one of the biggest issues is that you've played this game for like 40 hours and you're still running around Garrick Mach Monastery, you know?
Yeah.
That's also a big issue of what if they're like... What if you were hanging out in the Imperial Embar? Like, if you were just hanging out there instead. Like, that would be a nice change of scenery.
Like, Crimson Flower did the one cool thing once of hey, let's switch a different location for one fucking map.
That was kind of neat.
Let's tease your cock a little bit. And they did, and that's it.
That's all they did.
And I'm like, damn, it didn't even come.
If you recruit every unit in Crimson Flower, they're really crammed in there. Holy shit.
I can only imagine. I didn't even do that for my playthrough.
But yeah. So yeah, how many chapters? Yeah, so Crimson Flower only had
18.
Yes, 18. Well, so six chapters post time skip.
Yeah.
And yeah, the rest have 20 to 22.
So a quarter of its playthrough time is just part 2.
Yeah.
Well, the rest is part 1.
So let's talk about story issues with Black Eagles, Crimson Flower. Because funny enough, we actually didn't talk about it much in our Black Eagles podcast. We didn't talk about
Well, it's more about the characters.
Very much so. But when we were doing Claude and our Golden Deer, we were really talking about the story of Golden Deer.
Well, because it's so underwhelming, and the big... At least, Crimson Flower and Azure Moon, they at least follow through on the big crutch of their main character. Well, Claude, they kind of don't. Or at least... They do in the most fucking uninteresting way possible. Hey, he did the thing though.
You get nice snippets Hadar being hello brother.
Yeah, and they did the thing with Byleth to impress the nobles because religion and shit, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah, where they all had a month off to be you guys can do whatever you want.
It's so lame because a lot of Viridian Wind.
Yes.
That's the actual name of it. Golden Wind, whatever. Is just spent doing the war that Claude almost doesn't give a shit about, but he's like, I guess I'll do it.
It's part of his whole plan, but that's the problem is that you don't really get the ending of his plan. You just kind of get a part of it.
At least with Dimitri and Aelgar, they're legitimately invested. And that means something, because you become invested by virtue of that.
I'd definitely say this with Blue Lions. It feels a little weird in Crimson Flower, how their relationship goes.
What do you mean? I
think Crimson Flower, I don't feel the same stage presence that Edelgard had in Blue Lions. Like Dimitri's kind of like pushed aside quite a lot in Crimson Flower.
Yeah, that's true. Because like Edelgard, well, then again, Edelgard literally doesn't give a shit about Dimitri. She just sees him as obstacle that she'll have to overcome eventually, and she does in that route. Well, Dimitri, it's his whole fucking MO is to kill Edelgard. It's a completely different amount of like perspective on him. So I think it makes sense.
Edelgard's too busy simping for someone in Crimson Flower.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck Byleth.
I actually did recently think about how much, like, how the game would actually be if, what if instead of choosing a character to go with the what's it called, with a character or a house, what if instead it's like Rhea gives a character the Sword of the Creator, and you the player can pick who to give the Sword of the Creator to, and that whether it be Edelgard, Dimitri, Claude, or you keep it.
I would just like to have an option to have them as the main characters,
and that's kind of what I mean. Like, you know, you get rid of Byleth and you just have Rhea the choice. I'm like, this is the main character. This is why. You know, I don't know.
I think all the three characters are affected adversely by Byleth's presence, because Byleth is like a therapist to Dimitri and Edelgard, and Claude can't really show his full potential with being Byleth in the way.
Very much so.
I think Claude's probably the worst off by it, because he doesn't really have much stage presence, or at least not much in the war, and he doesn't get any interesting because of the war, because he doesn't give a fuck. If we at least had saw his mind and thought it through, or at least follow him through after the war, that'd be nice too.
Yeah,
but we don't.
Something different, I guess. I think I've explained it before how Vernie and Wind just their story. Klotz, Ferdinand, whatever. Ferdinand Wind. There's Claude's philosophy doesn't fit into the story very well, because it's mostly about Volan's problems, while Claude's problems are international.
Yeah. I honestly wish they fucked off, and they're like, we'll deal with it when it's done. I literally don't give a fuck. Yeah. But like, he just gives up the land to like Dimitri or some shit, or whatever. He's like, fuck this.
And on Crimson Flower, you can do the same thing, or you kill him.
Then again, it might go counter to his character, because he wants to build the connection with Volan in the outside world. So that might be the reason why he is invested, as limited as it is.
Man, we were supposed to talk about Crimson Flower, and we're like super off topic.
Yeah, I kind of realized that, but fuck it.
But yeah, going on to Crimson Flower, 8 minutes in.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. What's it called? Like what are your, like, some of the biggest gripes is that the whole Dubstep Illuminati where it's definitely unaddressed.
So weird that the arc where we work with them is the arc where you spend the least amount of time with them. Or not the least. That's Azure Moon.
Yeah,
excuse me.
It's like they just
Azure Moon, you literally kill them by accident. You're like, huh? What? I killed the leader by accident? That's weird.
Hubert kind of talks about Slither in the Dark a bit.
Yeah, because he kind of figures out... He taps his forehead because he's big smart, and he's like, aha, I know where they're at a certain point. And then they handle it off screen, you're like, huh, what? Then again, I guess their idea... Or there could be two things why they didn't do the Dubstep Illuminati and Crimson Flower. They just ran out of time. And two, they're like, oh, fuck. That Rhea boss fight would be kind of anticlimactic, that going from that to there, you know what I mean?
That's true. I mean, it's very weird when people talk about what happened with Crimson Flower out.
Yeah.
Because, like, people are saying, like, that they ran out of development, but that's weird because, like, the main... They were advertising Edelgard to be the route, you know?
Yes.
Maybe, but yet it's the most underwhelming. It has less cutscenes, the least amount of story.
Yep.
Just a lot of shit. So people are always like, is it tacked on, or did they... People are also theorizing is like, maybe... If you remember in the trailers, Edelgard had a way more softer and waifu voice.
Yes.
And was definitely more that way.
Do you think they would change drastically to the point where they had to scrap a lot of shit and be like, oh fuck.
That's what I think so. And
then again, I feel like if that was the case, because Edelgard's motivation is the crux of the whole game. If they scrapped it entirely to fix it with that, I think that's I don't know, man. I think that's too much, you know?
I don't feel you would have to put a lot of effort in. I'm sure they still wanted to do like, hey, everyone's fighting, you know? I'm sure they still had that in mind.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine for at least Golden Wind, they didn't have to make that many changes. Or yeah, I'm calling it Golden Wind.
Fuck it.
But for fucking I don't know, you wouldn't have to change that much. And I mean, with Azure Moon, I don't know. Again, I'm only theorizing. It's really weird to go any further than that. But yeah, dude, just Crimson Flower felt extremely awkward altogether, just because I felt there was a lot of things missing that were at least, and there was also just a lot of things where, like, you know, like the struggle with Dimitri versus Edelgard is a lot more enthralling when it comes to who you're combating, but I never really got the same thing with Edelgard. I felt the best thing about Edelgard the best thing about Crimson Flower in that route was, I guess, seeing how Edelgard handled the situation and just seeing her side of things.
The only worthwhile thing about Crimson Flower is learning, like, why the fuck does she did this, and you learn that for her support, basically, which is which is a requirement to get the arc in the first place, or the route, I should say. And once you get through that, you don't really get much else out of the route besides, like, well, she did it.
And Jaritza, I guess.
Jaritza's pretty cool.
Yeah, that I guess, but you know, get to play around with Distant Counter. Yeah, I don't know. So let's try to get to the meat and bones of it, and it's like, how would we improve Crimson Flower? Wow. I feel like this is one thing that I saw on the subreddit before that I think was very well said, is that Edelgard is lacking a good Lancer. Where a Lancer is like a trope where it's the rival character that opposes what they say.
You're using like the Fate Zero kind of. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot where that term came from. Either or.
You could have just said rival character.
A Lancer, I think, is a better term too, because rival can mean different things. I feel.
Okay.
A Lancer doesn't have to oppose the main character, but either or. Felix is an insufferable one, but at least he kind of called out on all the bullshit that fucking Dimitri was doing.
Yeah. And same thing with Lawrence, with Claude.
Yeah, but Ferdinand doesn't fill that same void.
No, even though he kind of tends to do that.
He does it in the supports a bit.
Kind of.
But it's just awkward.
But not in the main story. He never really goes against her.
No one does.
No.
Not even Byleth can.
No, well, Byleth, once you're there, you're there, you're...
That's it, you became a simp.
Yeah.
No other way around it.
There's a reason why you chose him, you simp.
But that's what's weird about, like, Edelgard's route, is that I just feel like the only thing that's really that opposes her is, like, Rhea.
Yeah.
And that's not our, she's batshit crazy. You can't side with her.
Rhea is like what would happen if we thought Miller was going to go bad in that one cutscene of Echoes, but actually gone through with it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Because remember that shit when we saw it the first time with Echoes?
Oh, yeah, that fucking...
That eye, you're like, holy fuck, that's weird.
She's about to break it.
Then again, she was probably really fucking pissed off, because Rudolph was like, hey, I got this sword, fuck you. And she's like, what the fuck?
Got it from their own Illuminati over there.
Yeah. Rhea is just that moment as a character.
Yeah. Do you think they played it out well in Crimson Flower?
What, Rhea being a fucking...
nutty? I feel they could have done a little more.
There was that moment where she was like, yeah, fuck the town. Where I was like, whoa.
That's definitely the point where it's like, oh yeah, she's gone.
Yeah. That was a big brutal moment. And I like that moment, all things considered. And I think it's believable enough.
Oh yeah, no, the way, it took steps to get there.
Yeah.
So, I definitely see it.
Because, like, it wasn't like Rhea was like, once Edelgard went nuts on her, it's just like, I'm going to slit this child's throat, Edelgard, if you keep doing this. It's not like she did that. She's like, alright, we're going to deal with this. Like, we're going to deal with this. We're going to do a crusade against this bitch.
Very much so.
And then when she got desperate and into a corner, she just said, fuck it. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And when you're desperate, you do desperate things.
How else would we have improved that? I mean, obviously the big thing is how would we incorporate Twisted of Evil? Or whatever it is.
Because there's some scenes, especially after you kill a rat sexy, the Rinnin bitch, the leader, who's disguised as their uncle, just appears and talks shit, and then he leaves, and you never see him again.
But they're like, oh, it could be him. It's him, isn't it? He's the bad guy.
Like, I don't mind that scene. I think it works well. I wish it was actually used to proper foreshadowing to deal with confrontation later instead of being done off screen.
The hard thing is, like, how do you... Like, what would be the final boss of Crimson Flower? Because, like, a good one, of course. Because Demetrius is one of the best ones. By far.
Yeah.
There's so much narrative meaning.
It's proper build-up. Proper build-up.
Yes, where... Edelgard became what Dimitri could have been, where she backed herself so much in the corner of being alone and doing everything.
Monster.
Yeah, it's a good ending it's a good boss for Dimitri.
Yeah, perfect ending.
And I mean, just to quickly comment on it, Vernon Wynn should have been like something to the equivalent of the CEO of racism, but I don't know who would be.
Like, that map's really cool, but it feels a little awkward. You're like, oh, we're doing this. I
that
guess.
Should have been what's it called? The church's route boss.
You know what? Yeah. Because I feel like Rhea would be like, this motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, no, that would have been the perfect one, honestly.
But we had to play the sad music. What? Yeah, this is Final Boss music. The sad music. Because Rhea had gone nuts, and everyone had AIDS because of her blood.
I hate it.
Yeah, I like that theme a lot. It's like the best.
Neat.
It's the best part of that map. I hate that fucking map.
It's the worst.
I feel weird because I kind of liked it in a weird way, but I also hate it.
What are you, a fucking...
Because while playing that fucking final map, I was like, this kind of sucks, but I'm engaged. So...
I guess by being done. Because fuck the church route. But yeah, no, Nemesis would have made more sense in I forgot the name of it.
Silver Snow.
Yes.
Silver Snow. Or you could just say church route. People say either word.
I suppose. But yeah, no, like, I guess Rey is fine. Because I guess she's supposed to be, like, the god, I guess. But it's in a weird middle ground where I don't feel it's enough.
What, as the final boss?
Yeah. Honestly, like, I don't know.
Because I feel like it works as the final boss, because Edelgard's whole goal is just to take down the system, and Rhea is the system, basically. So I think it's a good endpoint. There's just shit there's like, well, what about those guys?
I think a boss, like, I don't know. I'm speaking out of my ass right now just for an idea.
Yeah. An
idea I can think of is like, what if somehow Rhea did pull Sothis out of Byleth? And I don't know, it's like, you gotta... I don't know, it's just something like that. I don't feel Rhea is really a definitive god as, like, Sothis or Nemesis would be, you know?
Nemesis is.
Well, I guess he isn't really a god either.
He just got the goop, and he was like, thanks.
Because, like, I think Sothis being an antagonizing force... I think... Yeah, but then that's the weird part, though, is, like, how do you antagonize Sothis?
He doesn't even know who she is.
Yeah.
I mean, at a certain point, then she becomes you, basically.
Mm-hmm. So that's a little weird.
That's what happens.
How would you feel if say you did the thing with, I don't know how you would rewrite it. Like, what if you didn't fuse with Sothis if you did the Crimson Flower route? But I don't know how you could possibly do that. Because I think at that point, I
honestly think Sothis is not the problem. She never invented the system. She never invented the bullshit of the stories, the 12 elites. That was all Rhea.
And Twisted.
And Twisted. I mean, I don't know about that.
No, they're the ones that created legendary weapons and crests.
Yeah, and Rhea
just enforces it.
Rhea just bullshitted it and enforced it. Sothis had nothing. She was already dead.
That's fair.
That's fair. I guess you could say, I'm not sure about this, that she kind of made the Twisted. Because I guess what the fuck's the Twisted? Like, what was their motive? They're like, ooh, they fucked us over somehow.
It's still vague, I think. I mean, people theorize, but I think it's still vague. People just say, like, it's like, oh, she was a racist.
Like, we don't know, really, so if this is true intentions when she was still in that point of her life.
The furthest this goes is that she was antagonizing towards them at a certain point, but we don't know if anything led up to that,
I don't know if she did unprovoked or provoked.
We don't have enough context.
Like, so I don't think Sothis, I don't see her as an antagonizing force, because all the things that happened of the system is Rhea's choice. Sothis was dead by that point.
That's
so
fair.
She wouldn't give a shit of the system. She doesn't even know the system.
That's fair.
Until she's lived with Byleth, and then she sometimes, I don't even know if she ever comments about it, really.
Well, she's gone after Crimson Flower.
Well, yeah, but I mean like in part 1.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So I think Rhea is fine as an endpoint because she is the root cause of, like, the system.
But so is Twisted.
Yeah, so I don't know how to really, like, incorporate them. Maybe, I guess, a DLC.
Because, like, thinking about it now is, like, Twisted was such a shitty force on Edelgard. It ruined her life, practically.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see it. Like, they ruined a lot of people's lives because, again, they're also a big origin point of Crest.
Yes.
So it kind of makes you think, it's like, I think
it's a
bigger deal with them. They should be written as a bigger deal.
It's so weird how little. Even, like, it's so funny. In the final map of Azure Moon, you see mysterious fucking mages. You never know their fucking name.
Mm-hmm.
Never. You don't even have to fucking fight them. They're just there. I mean, obviously, because they're working with Edelgard. That makes sense after playing the routes. But it's just so funny. Because they matter so little in Azure Moon.
I guess they would be in a weird place if we were to put them in Azure Moon.
Yeah, I think it's fine with Azure Moon.
Mm-hmm.
And being there makes being like, who the fuck are they? I'm intrigued by them.
That's true.
I think it makes intrigue. But it's fine for, like, maybe one route, maybe 2. But for, like, literally almost none of them to really go... Like, when you finally get the church around the Golden Wind, or Viridian Wind, to have Rhea talk about them, she barely says shit.
That's true.
Barely. It's like, what the fuck? This is it? This is kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, Viridian Wind... It's weird, like, to make Crimson Flower better, you have to change Viridian Wind, because they had... A lot of those maps should belong to Crimson Flower.
Yeah.
And possibly Church Route, depending on how you want to write that out.
Like, honestly, I don't think Claude should even deal with fucking the Twisted.
It should have been the same treatment with Dimitri. Just be like, oops, killed the guy.
Yeah. And he just, I don't know, he fought like, the Elmira Kings are racist, and he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
And Claude's like, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
That'd be more fanatically appropriate for Claude as a final antagonist instead of fucking Nemesis, who has no real fanatic reasoning. He's just an asshole.
He just shows up.
He just shows up, and Claude's like, fuck, he's destroying shit. We gotta do it. I'm like, well, alright.
And what if that's fucking like, that racist Elmira King is like, that's the way we gotta do it, man, or because all these consequences happen if you integrate people or whatever. Like, I don't know, challenge Claude's ideals?
Yeah, and maybe he goes like to places like Bridget or Dagda, who have been who fucked over by the Empire, and they're like, "Fuck you, Claude! Fuck the Empire! I love being racist because of my hatred." And I would be more interested in Claude had to confront racism actively instead of saying, "Well, it kind of sucks."
Yeah.
Like, it would made him, it'd been more relevant to his character and made him more interesting. Because as stands, he's so fucking milquetoast.
Yeah. No, you're right. I 100% agree. You pretty much said, you said it well. And if you take all that from Claude and give him something different, and you just kind of have all these remains left over for, Crimson Flower and Church Route.
Because, like, Claude could tackle, like, the cycle of, like, violence and hatred of, like, and he's trying to break that chain. And that would be more relevant to him, like I said. Instead of, like, hey, I'm Grandpa, I'm a Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Plus, the Twisted are like a Foldland problem. And Claude's thinking more, he's Mr. Worldwide. He's trying to be anyways.
we both hit the Mr. Worldwide post, by the way. Got a little smirk on his sunglasses on him. Good. looking like Agent Bubbles from Lilo and Stitch.
A little bit, except for the guy's white.
No, he's kind of half black, half white.
I forget his... whatever.
Either way, it doesn't. But yeah, dude, I think about, so, you give all those maps to Twisted Flowers, because I think, like, part of the theme for what's it called? Crimson Flower is kind of saying, like, fuck nobility and fuck, all this birthright bullshit.
Yeah, and Twisted and did it. They played the hand in making it happen. And Edelgard should be like, obviously she says she wants to take him down, but we never see it, which is shitty. And missed opportunity. Absolutely.
Do you think it would be interesting in the final boss instead? The final boss is both the Twisted and Rhea?
I don't know, because they don't really work together. Rhea barely.
They wouldn't. They'd be fighting each. It would be a free for all essentially. All three sides are fighting.
I don't know if I really like that idea because
you have to fight Rhea first, and then Twisted is right behind you. It's like now's your chance because your uncle's there. Maybe your uncle's like, I fuse with Nemesis. I don't know. Come up with something stupid. Because now I'm thinking it's like save Twisted and Rhea both as final bosses, make it thematic to all that shit, but instead make the rest of the maps more about, I don't know, turning lords with the Empire or something. I don't know, like saying fuck nobility,
I feel like I would rather have the Twisted deal with first than Rhea, but then again, Edelgard's whole motivation to be with the Twister is like, well, Rhea's really hard to kill. I'm gonna need some help.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Why she keeps Twisted around.
Yeah. And so, which is why they take him out afterwards on screen. But, Rhea feels so good as an endpoint for Edelgard. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking because how the game's ran, I'm just stuck into it,
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't feel the same way just because... I don't know. There's compared to Dimitri and Edelgard, that same kind of intimacy isn't there.
I mean that's true.
I think Lord Arundel is a better final boss for Edelgard.
Like Edelgard's not obsessed about Rhea to the same degree that Dimitri's obsessed with Edelgard. I'll definitely agree to that. I don't know, maybe because she's the public symbol of like what she wants to take down. She literally went to war against her in the first place.
Arguably, so is Lord Arundel. Because he's all, again, it's because they didn't build him up like Rhea, but I'm sure if you build him up, he could have been like, nice. He could have been like, what if it said like he was one of the guys that created the quest? Maybe he's super old and we don't know that.
What would really make like
he's noble.
Hold on, I'm having a big brain moment.
He's got a brain boner.
What the fuck if they kill Rhea? Boom, pwned, base cringe.
Yes,
and the Twisted, their whole plan was like, yeah, we're gonna backstab you anyway, so we're gonna take Rhea's power and fucking kill you. And so Phallus becomes big and Chad-like. And he becomes like a monster.
Big mega dragon that's
like or like a Cthulhu fucking something or whatever.
I'd be pretty down for that, yeah.
Like, I think that I would be comfortable with that because I'm like, oh, those sneaky little cunts, they were gonna take us down too. And they had a plan. You
definitely need to build up Lord Arundel for that, though.
Yes.
And if they give, obviously, if you have like maybe 4 more chapters, you could easily do it.
I could, yeah, maybe 4, 2, 3.
Maybe you could see how far, because it's also implied. Lysithia's house, whatever, or Opherla, whatever something with an O, whatever. Her house, maybe.
I think it's Ordelia.
Yes,
Ordelia. It's like Cordelia.
Yes.
That's how I remember.
What if you get to see like Edelgard's trying to kind of like cleanse the nobility, and I guess along the way she also sees the roots of Twisted pop up here and there. So maybe you get to see some hints on Lord or what really is their span of their influence.
So would you have certain maps like take in between with the Rhea shit being like, hey, let's look at what the fuck let's take down some nobility, or do that afterwards?
Yeah, like what's up with during is a good one.
Okay.
It's a nice breaking segment. So maybe before you fight Claude, you go into Ordelia house or whatever.
You check out around the nobles to see what the fuck's up, and then you fight them in the mansion or some shit. They're like, hey, whoa, we gotta get get them. We got our guards because we have a lot of money.
Yeah, and they're like, what the fuck? What's the Twisted doing here? You know, all that shit.
Yeah.
And maybe you get to go more into the experimentations with Edelgard, and she has to confront, like, her PTSD over all this bullshit she had to deal with. It's like, fuck, there's people...
Oh, fuck,
it's like all this fucking torture shit that reminds me of my childhood. Fuck. This is shitty.
There's a videotape called Chapter Black.
He videotapes. Excellent.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you can explore the nobility with Farkas and saying how fucked they are, because you kind of do it a little bit with like.
Edelgard only shits on like mainly on the Empire. I guess we kind of have to assume that all of them are somewhere like that because they don't really touch on it.
They all have different ones. I mean the Lesser Alliance is weird because they're kind of connected to the Empire, so they kind of have some similarities.
Yeah.
But the big flaws for the what's it called? For the Lords and Farkas is that they're overly noble, and they're extremely blind to follow orders. Like they're super soldiers. That's the point. And I think that would have been a little more, I guess, better explained, or at least a little more. You got to see like their own bullshit going on. Maybe it would have been a good opportunity to check out the houses for Gautier and I don't know. The England one was fine. But I don't know. I guess just explore the nobility more. Just be like, fuck you guys. You guys are shorter.
Man.
And honestly, yeah, just what you said with like the way we build this up. You still do the maps. You explore the nobility. You still maybe fight Claude. I thought it was okay how they handled him.
Yeah, it's fine.
You get your choices of handling him, which is cool. I guess it adds more credit to Edelgard's philosophy because her philosophy is a little weird. You kind of have to get it through support, not even support. It's like through like background shit in the library, and it's like I don't know. Would have been nicer to have
if it's more in the limelight. Also, it would probably put a bad light on Rhea because she's letting it happen.
Yeah. I think the lights are really bad on like Edelgard. Even though I still think she has decent points. She's about as right, I feel, as maybe some other characters. I don't think it's as highlighted as well in her route.
Right. Well, what I mean is, if we did the noble idea, which I think is a good idea, it would put it into light. Like, Rhea is just letting this... It's kind of complicit in a way. Unless she just doesn't know. But I don't think that's the case. Like, with the nobles being shitty assholes about things.
Yeah, you can kind of write it the way you can, I suppose.
Yeah, like, it'd be like... Hey, the Twister here. What the fuck's this deal? And Rhea's being a bitch, not doing anything about this. Because it doesn't matter, because it's all along the system, which is what Rhea wants.
Because, like, does Rhea know that the crests and all that shit is all twisted? Because if that's the case, how... Is she about as compliant as Edelgard is with the Twisted then? Because she's using all this shit for her advantage?
I don't know. It could be, but I cannot for the life of me remember if she does or not.
I guess if that slot's open, you could definitely fill a gap there to add to the case with Edelgard.
Yeah. Because it's kind of funny. In a way, why the fuck they're still around, those Twisted? Because it feels like something that they would have handled. You know what I mean?
They're hidden. They're super well hidden. And one of the first people to recognize... I think Hubert mentioned it, that they're such an unknown group that he has to name it.
But I guess they were good hiders for like, I don't know, a millennia or some shit years.
Well, yeah, the only reason why I think they were able to find him out is because Hubert's apparently super good with mage, and they also kind of exchange frequently considering Lord Arundel is in the Empire. A lot easier. But yeah, no, that's a super good idea. Get nobility, get some Twisted in there, build up both Lord Arundel and Rhea at the same time. Have Rhea as the pre-final map.
Yeah.
And then have Cthulhu Monster of Lord Arundel as...
Yeah, I don't want to be a dragon because we just fought a fucking dragon. It could be kind of like a dragon because Rhea, he's like, ooh, take a little of that Rhea blood. But then again, I feel like it might be weird because a lot of the Twisted talk like Rhea's species are fucking degenerate and like beneath them in a way. Do you ever get that impression from them? Because he kind of talked like that, especially in the city.
I don't remember very well. What I do recall is that they definitely want that Rhea blood in experimentations.
Maybe would still check out. And then he's like, ooh, I got the Rhea blood. I can do this thing I can do with my blood arts and shit.
Yeah, because the whole reason they're using fucking
they did
the gods, because they created the legendary weapons and they're using Solstice's fucking spine.
Yep.
So it's like I think they're completely fine using.
Okay.
them.
I was just trying to make sure.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's good to make sure. But yeah, no, I think that's a way better way to do route, and it even adds an extra dimension to Edelgard about her case with nobility, and maybe we could bring up shit that it's part of her character that she's been kind of like pushing aside, like her fears.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe also pay visit to House Varley.
Yeah. Dead.
Anyways,
I have this thought that's completely unrelated to Crimson and Flower, but I have to say it.
Go ahead.
I feel like with Claude, I'm going back to Claude idea because this has been on my mind.
Okay, I think, let it out.
Like the Japanese developers are too cowardly to do this, but I want to say this. Like, you know how like my idea was like, the cycle of hatred, makes more hatred, like Dagda, Bridget, and like Elmira, and when Claude's find them, they'll basically point out, you're a fucking hypocrite, Claude. You're using fighting to get your own means, like the Empire did, you piece of shit. And then Claude has to deal with it. It's like, oh, fuck.
I think Claude already kind of dealt with that, didn't he? With,
I feel like...
being like, hey, if you need to surrender, surrender.
Well, but, like, I get... Maybe Claude probably justifies, like, you made me do this. But I think it would be cool, because it would make the villain being like, like an ideological opponent to Claude.
No, that's a good idea, actually.
And it would maybe make Claude think, like, am I really doing the right thing, or am I being a fucking cunt about it?
I guess so, yeah.
I don't know. It was just in my mind.
No, it's something like that would be good.
I'm trying to make Claude good, okay?
No, I'm not saying it was a bad idea.
No, I'm not even saying it, you implying that. I just want to make Claude good.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of ways to do it, though, honestly.
Because he's too perfect.
Honestly, as far as Cycle of Hatred goes, I think that's kind of Dimitri's thing.
That's true. But I think Claude could play into that. I mean, Dimitri is like person with like Cycle of Hatred. With Claude, it could be more expanded to nations.
Yeah, I want to, as far as Claude goes, I want to, maybe not so much Cycle of Hatred, I want to touch it more on the racism bullshit and integration. Can people really, harmony, can it happen?
Well, I'm saying Cycle of Hatred and racism as interchangeable.
Okay.
Because of like, Dag would probably have some harsh feelings, and maybe Bridget because of the subjugation, or like the subjugation of their people because of the Empire. And same thing with like, maybe like, Lanchester and Elmira, because they fight all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
because then again, all we get about Elmira's like, well, they like to fight a lot.
There's also that other nation that's north of House Gautier that also deals with kind of like race shit. Which again, there's a lot of country. Claude just could have gone like, let's go visit the edges of Poland or something like that. Maybe they take out what's it called, Edelgard way more quickly or something like that.
Yeah.
Deal with that then
God, because as it stands, I think fucking Verdant, Wind, and Silver Snow are like the worst routes. Story-wise, by far.
Yes.
By fucking far.
Church routes are the worst.
It's not that far off. They're practically the same thing. So...
At least you get to find some things about Claude and some lore with...
Do you?
Yeah, you do. You do find some things out about Claude. It's not very interesting, but you get to find out some things about him.
I mean, it's barely worth a fucking thing. To me, at least.
It's something more than the church route.
Church route and Verdant Wind are both the same. Kind of cringe. Both cringe.
And yeah, I think Crimson Flower could have earned that. It's missing some shit. Also, give it more fucking cutscenes. It kind of got fucking cucked out of cutscenes super hard. When you reunite with Edelgard, it's just a picture instead of a full-on cutscene.
I'm thinking of that escort picture of her.
Ah, no. I don't want to be reminded.
It's so bad.
But that's a big yikes from me. Oh my god. But yeah, anything else you want to comment on how to improve Crimson Flower? I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah. Although the person said like a DLC, we just kind of made the story. We just kind of rewrote the story.
I guess, yeah.
Then again, it would honestly, I feel it would be cheapened if it was DLC. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think it would really work as DLC, honestly. At this point, for sure.
At this point, it's the only feasible way to make it DLC.
Mm-hmm.
So I get, maybe their question was like, as it stands, how would you make it the Twisted in a DLC form as it stands? And we kind of just went like, this is how we would like to do it if we had a chance to change everything.
Make an alternate Crimson Flower route. So you can
I'll
pick
put that on change.org.
You can pick between the old and new route or something. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I guess if you want to add something to Twisted, it would be try to fight Lord Arundel. As we said, maybe it'd be the same thing. Now you go through the nobility, find out like maybe Edelgard and Hubert are both investigating what the fuck are happening in these houses with Twisted of Evil.
Okay, so basically move all that to the DLC. Make it like a nice arc to itself. I think that'd be okay, I guess.
And then you get to fight Lord Arundel as, you know, maybe he's like
and then
on
he
top
comments
of
like, yeah, I took out some of that ray of blood when she was killed.
You guys are fucking idiots. You guys didn't dispose of her properly.
I'll think so according to my plan.
I don't know. That would have been
dust
nice.
that starts to play.
Imagine the raw ass DLC music we would get to. Because the fucking music in Ashen Wolves is fucking amazing.
I love the final boss theme.
They're all the soundtracks in that fucking.
I love the name too. I think it's called At What Cost, which is fucking.
That is some Thanos shit right there.
Yeah, because it's a somber, sad song of like, Alfred, you fucked up.
You fucking simp.
You brought her back, but literally at what cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Kino. But the music is the best part about that DLC.
I like some of the characters.
Ashen Wolves are kind of... I like them, but I don't love them.
That's fair. Anyways, anything else you want to comment on Crimson Flower? Because that was a good reminder, honestly. I think
I felt bad. I was like, well, I gotta make sure to counter as DLC, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
So I guess just move up the noble shit to DLC and make a little arc out about it. I think that could work.
That could work pretty well, honestly. Like a nice 6 or 8 chapters about exploring some of the nobility that we never saw. We get to see fucking Holst and the
Boyce,
other boys. We get to see all these characters they talked about. Like we get to see fucking Lord Bernadetta's dad.
Varley.
Varley. I get to see Count Varley and some other shit. You know, like we get to see more of the nobles, see what the fuck they look like and what they actually are like. You know, shit like that.
Oh yeah.
That'd be pretty neat.
So I think that would work as DLC. Just doing that.
100%.
Just make a little arc about the nobles and like how they're integrated with the Twisted a bit. Because the Empire is definitely there's no ifs ands and buts about it.
Yes.
And they will probably investigate them first, and then maybe be like, oh wow, this is more than just the Empire. Oh fuck.
Yeah, maybe.
And then they would go to Fargus and Lancaster. It doesn't matter the order. Maybe they don't.
Because Cornelia, I think that's her name. That's her name, right? The big titty. Yeah, she's also rooted, so they can see the roots in Fargus that she caused.
Yeah.
Because I've heard shit that she has a lot of influence in the background.
Yeah, and Happy is apparently related to her in a way. I don't know how. She is. Apparently, the Cordelia we meet is not really Cordelia. She's just a fucking person from the Twisted that just took her body, which they can't do.
So there you go. There is influence in Fargus then.
Yeah.
It is there.
I don't know about Lanchester.
Lesser Alliance?
Lesser Alliance.
House Ordelia is definitely one.
Yeah, but it wasn't state that, like, because their house is really fucking close to the
It's like, yeah, it's on the border.
Oh, okay. So maybe they don't really have much. Maybe we don't have to go there.
Yeah, just explore the nobles that are...
Like, definitely the Empire for sure, and then probably Fargus. And then you're like... Then fucking Edelgard's uncle, Konko's like, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing? And you're like,
yeah.
Stuff? And you're like, what stuff?
I'm stuff. No, Edelgard!
No!
I support it now.
A support? Oh, you're fine.
I said S support.
Oh, okay. Alright, we're gonna have to put you to Dale. And you're a monster that can never be redeemed.
That's always my favorite panel. Like, I'm gonna regurgitate the whole joke, but it's like, it's like, I was like, oh, hello, Dorothea, what are you doing? Then Dorothea, stuff, and then Ferdinand said, I'm stuff. Wait, no, Ferdinand, no! And then it's just Byleth with a really shitty thing saying, I have supported Naui.
Oh no.
On the very bottom.
Every time I think about Naui's and Na's names, it's really fucking funny. Because they're really like, Na's like, no. And Naui's like, nah.
Oh man. We have to do an actual Awakening podcast. We only did the science last time.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's close out this podcast because I'm kind of hungry.
Fair enough.
Alright guys, thanks you guys for joining us on this mini-cast. As you can see, we are hungry enough for comments. So if you have your own suggestion you would like to add to the comment section, feel free. And if you deemed us worthy, subscribe because we like attention.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyways, joining me today in this very short podcast of below 50 minutes has been Devin.
Yeah, I wish Three Houses story was actually good.
And
I'm sad the ideas we come up with will never be real.
And I've been Hector, continuing to simp for Edelgard to this day. Alright guys, thank you guys.
Problematic.
Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.